So around 15, 16, Pamana Tuhon comes around again. So from age 5 to about it's about 10 years, we don't see him, right? He's doing his own thing, and you think that we're fighting. Like, man, he's got crazy stories, like he's doing security for people, and he's in his early 20s now, and his fight stories are crazy, like crazy. And we're all about those fight stories. He sits down, he tells us what's happening and this and what he did here, or how he threw this player, fought a bunch of dudes with baseball bats, and it was cool because he used a baseball bat to fight with, and we were using axe handles, like, because they were lighter than baseball bats. So we had pipes, because the pipes we were using were lighter than baseball bats. And because we were not as strong as he was, like, that's all that meant. He was able to use a baseball bat. He whipped it like a rattan stick. And we were doing heavy weapon then, but it was heavy weapon training. Like, we didn't fight with those baseball. We used it as a heavy weapon training thing, and then you had a weapon, but he was using it to fight with, and it was that kind of stuff. Like, because you think these guys are so good at something, and then you meet him. Because we knew he was good, and then you meet him. Because he had to live with us for about a year. He was down on his luck and stuff in life. His family stuff. So I need help. All right, live with us. Instead of paying rent, he fixed our house. He was a contractor, so he fixed the bathroom, he fixed everything, like whatever we needed to get fixed, he fixed, right? Then we worked with him in construction, and that is the other training that we saw, because he didn't believe in like training, like you do your 2-3 hours a day or 2 hours a day a few times a week. He was like, no, man, you all day when you're working. So we would do demolition, and we'd be there demoing houses, and we went to like the worst part of Jamaica to do this. And I remember he was, in those areas, if you leave, you don't leave your stuff there, right? You don't leave your tools and your equipment, because the crackheads would come and steal the pipe, the copper piping, and you sell it and get crack. So we'd have like Bowie knives, and he'd like, first thing in the morning you get there, nothing's in there, but then you don't know that, because they know the house is being built, so they're gonna go in there and try and steal something, like. And he would go like, all right, wherever our guys go in. So we already knew how to clear a house with blades, because my dad taught us. So it's like, all right, go in there. So we'd have these, 12-inch knives, and then we'd go in and clear the house. So, crack is flying out the back windows, and condoms all over the floor. They weren't there the night before, that kind of thing. Because they were, they're crackheads, so they're trying to get money for crack, so they're doing their hooker thing, and it was pretty interesting, and we had no guns. This place was riddled with guns, and we had no guns. So that kind of training, like, you're not defending a house now, you're clearing another house. And we call it clearing now because of the training we have with our military guys. But how do you say, like, check the house, like, make sure no one's in it. Yeah. So 2 guys would go upstairs, throw something into the room, see if something moves, your blades out, the way you hold your blades, like, and we're saying, you guys know how to do this? Yeah, all right, go. And we did. We had a little bit of that. So it was kind of cool. It didn't happen a lot, but even if there was nothing going on, he would let us do that, because it was good training. And then we would train all day, do Sinawali on that wall with double hammers, and do round kicks on the framing of this wall, and I want you to punch and elbow the sheetrock here, and then when you take all the sheetrock, like, to rip it off, because we do this training where you grab people by the skin of their face, develop your grip, and then once you have the frame done, then you would kick it with your legs, and it was cool training, and it was all day long. You tired. It's like it would be like a fight camp these days if guys are going, because you're doing it all day long. And we're kids, so you could do it. Like, it's like, I would never do that with students now, because we're all old. Like, you might hurt yourself, but that's the time to do it. It's pretty cool. It's not long. It's a few days. It's a few days a week in the summer, because we had to get up early in the morning, and we hated getting up early. So undisciplined like that. That was kind of the reason why Pamana Tuhon was training us. My dad was like, train these boys, like, make them disciplined. They're lacking discipline, So we didn't go with them all the time, because we couldn't get up early. Get up at like 4 a.m, something like that. And yeah, we just weren't doing that. In the summertime, yeah, we weren't doing that. So we would go there a couple of times. Maybe we did maybe a month of that, 20 days. It was awesome training. And he stayed with us for a year. Remember, Pamana Tuhon he was scary to us. Like, he was always like trying to hurt us, and because he was training us, he was trying to teach us discipline. So we didn't like being around him as kids, because he was first of all, you can't beat him in a fight, and he was smarter than us. I mean, everything. We just didn't want to. He's mean. He hurts us. So stay away. But we still knew he was that guy, because even by then, we already had heard about the things he was doing already, as far as like fighting and doing all those little missions that he would do with his guys and stuff. Like security work, stuff like that. And he hung out for about a year, and then towards the end of the year, because he wouldn't train us, he's like, I'm not training you guys, you're not worth training, right? He used to say that. You're not worth training, you're not disciplined enough. So after he saw us get a little bit of discipline from the construction thing, and we got a little bit hard, everything started getting a little bit harder, physically. Like, go take care of that. I don't want to do it. You complain, or it hurts to do this for 3 hours. Just keep going, don't stop. Like, once he knew that we were kind of not doing that, then he decided to give us actual lessons. And those lessons were worse, man. They were worse, because remember, we already had skill. So the things he trained us in were things that we were good at. It's always the thing, right? So we already had the blade thing going on. We had to use machetes and knives and double sticks and double pipes and empty hand stuff. And so he trained us in empty hand, because he felt we were. I didn't think we were lacking in it, but he felt we were lacking in it. First thing he does is he tests us, right? So he feeds us with a knife, right? So Tuhon was countering all of our taps, and man, he chopped us up in slow motion. So this is 1988. And he was just doing it to see where we are. Like, now I'm a professional instructor. I know what he's looking where he needs to develop us. So we are lacking in empty hand work, or something like that, right? I'm only saying that because he said that, and we were like, "What? Get out of here, man!" So he starts training us in empty hand work, man, and it was rough training. My brother was in college at the time. He would come home and he would do that training with us. You couldn't do this every day, like. You needed time to heal from the training, so we're probably doing this like once or twice a week, And it was rough, but it was good. It was more mindset training, and like he was developing us in construction for it was like conditioning our bodies. Now he was conditioning us for fighting, and we already had seen stuff, but when you're that age, fear really is the thing that starts the fight. You're not really sure how this fight's going to end, and then you get scared, and then you get angry, and then you're scared, and then you get real angry, and then between there, like, it's like some confidence when you start getting used to doing it a lot. And he was training the mindset so we wouldn't be scared, and it worked, man. We didn't do a lot of classes. This is the other thing. Like, he was good at doing this in a short amount of time, and
just being around him, right?
Yeah, being the way he thought, like the way he thought about things. Like, I remember I was, at this time he was living with us, and I was dating a girl, and she broke up with me, and there were some problems, and a guy she knew was a leader of a gang, and he was coming to school. He was going to go to my high school to kill me. Right? Those were the words. I don't know if he was going to do it, but when you hear stuff like that when you're young, it freaks you out. So. School. Now it's just my dad, Pamana Tuhon, me, and my mom, and it's mindset training, like he's telling me, like, I'm sitting there, we used to always carry these 12-inch knives, right? They came from the Philippines. They're like these short 12-inch blades. We call them sweepers now. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking I'm going to go fight with my dad and Pamana Tuhon. I'm like, I get to be one of these fights. I get to be one of these stories, so I'm all hyped up, because I don't care how many guys I'm with my dad and Pamana Tuhon. So, but the mindset, like, it doesn't matter how many there are, you control the fight, And when I see guys like that, I already see them all done and finished, And I look at him, he wasn't scared. My dad is sitting in the car, they're just like, and I'm like, man, I'm 15. I'm like, man, I want to be like that. Like, they're not scared at all. They're just plotting and planning. They know something I don't know. And by then, you're starting to realize, like, we're really trained. A lot of guys are not that good on the street. That's how you, if you're not good at stuff, you bring a lot of people with you. That's kind of like the way they do it on the street. If you're not good with your hands, or you're not good with a pistol, or you bring a lot of guys with you, you know. So it was a lot of teaching like that, a lot of training like that, and eventually I had it out with those guys, and it was done. You know, it was good. But that's how training was. Like every time there was an opportunity to do it for real, they brought you out and they taught you on the spot, on the job. Man, it was. Remember, we already knew how to move these blades, but it was the mindset now. It was like, because to us, like, Mass Attack was like, all right, it was me, Bong, and D. We'll fight 10 guys, or we'll fight 8 guys. But one guy fighting 20, we're like, no, that's impossible. You know, it's like nothing impossible. There's nothing impossible, because he teaches you how to control the psychology of the people. And my dad taught that to us, but he really knew, he had a delivery system for that, like an exact progression to get to be that way.
I remember definitely the before and after Pamana Tuhon had worked with us, the way we interact with possible like conflict, it's like night and day. Because before that, we're just like the guys that were around us. You know, there's the chicken dance, there's cursing, and there's threatening, and then you're like, well, now we're gonna fight, and you know. But after that, it was, I mean, you're before you do it, you're like, you're already making a snapshot of this guy. You're putting him into sort of you're categorizing him. We didn't even know we were doing that, but that's what you're doing, because that's what Pamana Tuhon was doing. And then you're addressing this guy's mentality, and as opposed to him as a threat, you're just dealing with this guy as a puzzle, you know, right? Would you say? And like the ability to just, and now you're not even really, I'm not even saying you're talking your way out of things. People are just not wanting to fight you,
Yeah.
because of how you're addressing this situation. You're much calmer. Like when you've already decided that this is going to be a fight, that guy is still trying to talk, and he's, I guess what happens is they detect that, and now they don't want it. Like you guys are playing 2 different games. A lot of that was from how Pamana Tuhon, just being with him and watching him handle situations.
The way he thought was completely, like every time he says something, it's like, I don't think that way, you know.
Yeah.
And you want to think that way, because if you think that way, life is easier, you know, that kind of thing. All right, so we have 10 years of training with my dad, and then we have this training with Pamana Tuhon. You know, like I said, it wasn't really technical. It wasn't. It was very simple stuff, but it was wrapped in stress. That was the thing, where they wrapped in stress, like how to deal with it. In like the way fights are, it's always simpler moves, but the stress. He taught you how to like deal with that. And my brother after that would get into fights at school and man, dominate guys. And we would dominate them before, but you're not scared now, you know.
Right.
You just know, like guys are standing there, you know, like, you know how to touch them, you know how to hit them. You know, he would say this is where you hit a guy if he's angry, if he's being like, you know, he's being like aggressive, this is where you hit him. It's like a button. He stops right there and then assess. You know, so was the, you know, there was a lot of that training. Even my dad had that kind of training, like looking into people's eyes and seeing what their intentions were. He would give us, my dad would give. Now we got this training, and people are hearing about us, and now people are coming to train. So now it's nice. Now we've been training with ourselves. You know, every once in a while we have a student, and now I'm 15. And now I have students now, so I start teaching like officially at 15, and it's hard. Like you just don't know how to. So you go back, you don't know how to, like, you're punching guys in the face. You want them to pass, you know, and then you know they're kids, you know, they're your age, and they don't come back. So you go back and you need to do something. So we start teaching drills again, like the Filipino martial art drills. And by then we have all these drills. Like we had taken drills and made, I think by the time I was 20, like 60 different drills that we had, just because you could just expand off of drills. Now this is drills. This is not the hard fight training where you're supposed to do like Mass Attack and stuff like that. So we would do that training, and then we would teach them, and now people are coming in, they're hearing about, now we have training partners. It's part of it. The deal is you gotta fight us. That's part of the deal. Like, I'm not gonna charge you anything, I'm gonna teach you, but we're gonna spar. So you got the gloves on, you know, you can fight with sticks, you do knife sparring, you know, stuff like that. So now we have training partners, because the whole thing about teaching was just training partners. They would come, hey, I heard you guys are, because these are kids in the neighborhood that are being bullied, and then you're teaching them, and they get to spar us. So it's like we tell them, look, you better get hit by us than them, you know, that kind of thing. So that goes on from age 15 until we leave. You know, we leave there in 1990, and then my brothers go out to the West Coast, and I'm on the East Coast, and people already know who I am, so I'm always getting an influx of people who want to train. But then they go out there. My brother meets someone out there, Ryan. He went to high school with him. He runs the Tacoma group right now, and he knows some FMA guys. And my brother moves around with those guys, spars those guys, and they're like, wow. And then they hear about my brother out there, and then they go. And usually how it is, you spar somebody, guys would go, let's spar, and then we'd spar, and they're like, they join. After the sparring, they would join. My brother's doing the same thing. He's living that same kind of thing. We spar, people join. So we always have a crew of guys. They're not really students. You're teaching them to be good so they can fight you, you know.
And fight with you.
Fight with you, yeah. So in Washington, it wasn't that bad.
No.
But every once in a while, they would come home and they would bring like some of the guys from Wild, like Ryan would come with us. And I'm like, hey, we're gonna go. We're hanging out on this spot here, and you throw down, man. Where's your blade? You know, don't leave your blade at home. You know, what's the matter with you? Like, you know, you get into it, or you almost get into it, and you're like, I don't got my blade. It's like, man, I told you, you know. So you give them another one. It's one of the reasons why you carry more than one blade. You give it to somebody else just in case you need it, you know. And then you're doing that. You're training, and really it's just training partners and guys you roll with. So if you get into stuff, you got guys with you. So really training our partners. That's what it is. Like the guys who are going to fight with us. All right, this is how you do it. And back then we already had our wolf pack going on, so we were pretty dialed in on that. And that goes on through the 90s. I go to college, and that's where I meet Leo Manalo, and he's still with me now, right? And all we do is that now.